guys, happy Saturday to you. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's enjoying their weekend. As you can see, welcome to the show, by the way. Hope everybody, like I said, hope everybody's doing good. And I also want to mention, hope everybody is safe from the storms that are down in the southeastern part of the country. Looks like Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama are getting hit right now. So it's been crazy. We had a nasty time of it last night. Anywhere from 16 to 19 tornadoes in Missouri alone. There was one not too terribly far from me. Damaged part of my son's high school. Damaged part of the road right down here. The city. So if I look out this window right here, I see a city called Arnold, Missouri, which is just south of St. Louis. And that town, apparently a tornado touched down there, and it's just a mess down there. Everything's still torn up. Traffic lights are out. Roads are closed. People are without power. So if you're the praying type, keep people in your prayers who are going through this stuff. I know a couple people that are in line for these storms that are coming through the country right now. So let's keep everybody good thoughts and good prayers for them. So everybody stays safe and everybody comes back tomorrow and everything. So one more thing before we get going here. And without Chris, I'll do my best to keep an eye on chat. If anybody has a question for tonight, put it all in all caps. We have a great show. We have Nancy Thames from she's in Mississippi, right? Nancy, no, not sure. Yeah, Mississippi, and she's a UFO contactee. So this is going to be a very interesting show. One that I'm really looking forward to. I love this topic. But before we get into that, I don't know if you've heard this before, but we have a little conference going on September 19th and 20th. It's going to be the Crossing Realms Conference. We're going to be talking paranormal. We're going to be talking UFOs. We're going to be talking cryptids. It's going to be at the Eagleton Civic Center in Richmond, Missouri, and that's going to be right across across the parking lot from Ray County Museum. It's going to be a fantastic night. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. Just look up Crossing Realms Conference under Eventbrite. Well, I can't talk. And get your tickets there. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. Unfortunately, the ghost hunt is sold out, so we don't have any more tickets for that. But you can. Kathy is opening up the museum for some tours during the day, so that will be pretty cool to get out and see that at least. So I think that's all I have. I'm looking at my little cheat sheet. That's all I have. So let's bring Nancy out here, figure out how to do this. Hey Nancy, how you doing?
Great, staying dry. It's pretty wet around here, storm weather. Yeah,
glad to hear that you're okay though.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, all through southwest or southeast down there, it's pretty nasty. So a quick little overview. You have been in contact with UFOs for many years, correct?
Yes, really and truly, if you want to, what it boils down to is that I'm a lifelong contactee with non-human intelligence, and the ones in particular that I am the most in contact with are what I call the elders, the grays, humanoids, aquatic beings, but more so the elders and the grays seem to be who I'm around the most. And the grays are the transporters that get me back and forth from wherever I am, any place in the world, to craft. And they are the ones that change my frequency from my human level into a higher frequency so that I can go into their craft, which I will assume, since they're changing my frequency, is in probably a different dimension, a higher frequency.
I think that's just pretty darn interesting. When is your very first recollection of one of these contacts?
Well, It's been lifelong, like I said, but I remember as a toddler, the Greys coming to get me, and they would change my frequency, and my, I would be in the bed, and I would feel the presence, and my body would start to vibrate, and as it would vibrate, eventually I would start to like float or levitate like up into the air, and then a female Grey would take me by the hand, and she would literally take me through the ceiling or through a window or through a roof. It didn't matter. They have the ability to uh, go through objects that we don't really have a lot of understanding of and are not capable of doing, but they can manipulate between dimensions. And once they raise your frequency to match theirs, then they can take you along with them. It's pretty much they match the human frequency to their frequency. And so it's just been a lifelong thing. And as I've gotten older, when I was 30, I first found out through the elders that that I had made an agreement prior to being born here on Earth. I was one of them, and I agreed to incarnate here to be a part of this evolutionary leap for humanity. This is a big deal. This is not about me. It's not about anybody that just has an interest in the paranormal or ufology. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and it affects every human being on this planet. Not only that, but it affects the universe, our planet Earth, because all these things are ascending at this same time. And that's why we're seeing so many strange things happening with our weather around the world. People are becoming more conscious, more aware. Our awareness and understanding is reaching higher and higher levels of consciousness, which has never happened to human beings before. And this has been a preparation by non-human intelligence for a very, very long time. And I'm sure there's other incarnates like me that were sent here, and we were gifted Kundalini awakenings and different things to open our subconscious up and help us to remember our past lives, and to help us to put out information for those that it resonates with. This will not resonate with every human being on Earth, and that's okay. That's what it is, because we're all here on our different soul path. But I'm trying to resonate with the ones that want to look within and understand who they are on a soul level, and why they came to Earth, and the fact that they did choose to come here and be a part of this big event. So it's just been a lifelong, every single day of my life, I am ascending. I'm learning more. I'm getting downloads. I'm they're opening up my subconscious as my human brain can understand all these things. And that's basically what's happening all around the world. We're all getting information. It's just, has to come in like digestible phases so that we don't lose our mind.
Yeah. We'll get to, I have a couple questions. We'll get to some of those here in just a second. But do you think, well, first of all, why do you think they chose you to begin with?
Well,
at such a young age?
I was an elder, and no, it happened before I was even born here on Earth. I incarnated here from them, and they told me, and they showed me the vision of I saw myself being born, and I saw the vision, and they showed me where, when we come to Earth, all of us chose to be here, but our memories are wiped out. It's erased. We don't remember our prior past life. We're starting from scratch when we get here. But they told me that they would be coming to see me throughout my life. And I happened to be around 30 years old, or a little over 30 years old, when they gave me this information. Did I understand it all at the age of 30, being a mother of 2 babies? Absolutely not. Did I hear what they said? Yes, I did. But it took me quite a long time and many more growth and experiences with them to finally grasp and understand the meaning of all this. So basically, I was one of them. I incarnated here, and it took me a long time to understand and step up into my role of why I came here, my mission, my soul mission. It is important that all of human beings understand that they all make choices. And it's important for you to know that you knew that you were going to be here for this evolutionary role. It's just we need to look within and remember what we already know. We just haven't unlocked it yet in a lot of cases. Yeah.
Right. Have they ever kind of hinted or told you about any of your past lives, where you were from, what you did, anything?
Well, I was one of them, and I do know that. I do know that I still have family there, and every time I'm on craft, I go through a process of an exam. They check the human part of me. They check to see what toxins the world we've been exposed to. They check my mental health. They check my physical health, and accordingly do things for that. And there's always a group of humanoid looking elders that are not exactly humanoid. They're more translucently looking, but they're always standing there watching and evaluating me. And I know that, I have family there. They live much longer lives than we do here on Earth. We have a very short period of time. And, that's another reason why it's so important that human beings wake up and understand that, we can enjoy this human experience. We don't have to work and be a slave to our jobs and manipulated and controlled like we are. We can actually enjoy it and learn how to different lifestyle and live in a new era on Earth of peace and unity. And that doesn't mean that we're going to be running around chasing butterflies and looking at rainbows. There'll still be difference of opinion, but it will be our behavior and mannerism that we deal with these situations will be done in a unified way that everyone is agreeable upon, but we will respect differences. Basically what it will boil down to, we'll learn to play in this sandbox together and get along without wars and evil things. But the main thing is that we have to leave this third 3D dense realm that we are in and have been in for eons, because this is the place where all evil can occur. This is the place where all negative things such as wars, if we ever ascend, which I think we're in the process of, we will have less negativity, and we'll learn to walk away from things that do not resonate or serve us any purpose as far as moving on as a humanity that wants to survive for millions of years.
Throughout the show, Pam, our wonderful mod, will be posting your website in chat. So feel free to head on over there and check that out. Full of great information, and some of your writings and stuff is in there as well. When they contact you, when they come and get you, kind of go through what happens to you, how they come and get you. You said you kind of levitate up through the ceiling or something like that. What exactly happens?
That was when I was younger. Now my frequency is much higher because I have ascended. They gifted me a Kundalini awakening. They don't have to do all that because I vibrate at a higher frequency. So now, and this has always occurred too when I was younger, I know between, I'd say 5 minutes, give or take, before that they are fixing to appear in front of me. And I think this is done intentionally because that gives me the period of time to use my consciousness and my mind to say, okay, Nancy, you feel the frequency change in your body. So either it's my body getting ready for it, or either it's mentally, or combination of both, telling me, these feelings. It is not fear. It is not anything unusual or weird. It's something you've experienced before, but it always feels overwhelming and different because your frequency in your body elevates tremendously. And it's just a strange feeling. And it's so strange that it can be fearful, or it can be euphoric type feeling. It depends on, how you approach it. So basically 5 minutes before I get that, and I can mentally say, okay, I'm ready, you know, and get myself prepared. And then when they entered the room, I have full conscious contact because I have pushed through the fear. I have pushed through all the negative thoughts and focus on the moment and not letting all the other things of influences of the outside world influence me.
Is it always the same ones that come and get you, or one, or is there multiple that
Well,
come and get you? Or?
The female grays always travel in threes, and the female always has two companions. I am bonded with her, so I don't, feel the bond with the other two that I feel with her. So I don't really know if they are the same ones or not, but she is. She is always, and she's been with me. I know that even in my prior lives, she was with me. And she's just here now assisting me here on earth because this is just another experience that my soul is experiencing. And when I go back to source, which I feel like I will go back to the elders, she will be with me there as well. So
when you say go back to your elders, you mean when you're finished with your body that you're in now, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
When they take you to their craft or wherever,
Mm-hmm.
is it always a craft, or is it someplace else?
Well, sometimes I can see outside, sometimes I cannot. So it's really hard to say because it's a different dimension. And the reason why I know that is because even when I was little and they would be holding me by the hand and we would be going towards it, the minute that you step into craft, from the outside, it may look like it's about half the size of an American football field. But when you step in, everything changes. It's like this big, humongous thing. It's like stepping into a new dimension or stepping into a new world, however you want to phrase that. So, and another thing too is that we all look to the sky and think, well, they have to come from there, but that's where we look for them. So naturally, that's where they're going to show themselves. But what they've proved to me and shown to me is that they're all around us, and they're not hiding from us. We simply, because of our frequency and because of our ascension level, we cannot see them because we only use our five senses and we can only visually see so far and only see so many color spectrums and all these different things. But that's why ascension is important, because as we ascend, our awareness and our visual range will increase. So it's not that, it's like now people are starting to see more and more things in the sky. Well, that's because we're ascending. Mm-hmm. They're, yes, they do understand that people are more in tune and will be more acceptable, and they're probably going to show themselves more. But another part of it is that we're able to see further than what we did before. So it's a really a miraculous thing, and it's happening all across the world.
So kind of one thing when you were describing the craft that we see is a football field size, and then when you get into it, I don't know if you're familiar with like the Harry Potter movies where they have these tents and they go in the tent and all of a sudden when you get in there, it's this huge, massive thing that looks nothing like what you're going to see on the outside.
Basically,
I'm wondering if Hollywood is mimicking this.
I'm sure they get downloads. I mean, you have to stop and think how creative some of these people's minds are. It has to be. That was probably a download and also a way of making these things of the future be more digestible by introducing them in small increments. It's kind of like disclosure. You would like to think that the government's doing it in a way that's digestible for all of humanity. I don't know that that's the case in that particular thing, but I think with movies and things like that, yes. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of them are influenced.
And you do your writing. Are you writing about your experiences, or what are your blogs about, or what are your writings about?
Most of my writings right now are in the groups on Facebook, because I have more people subscribe to that than I actually do on my website. So that seems to be priority with me, is to try to get information out, because I'm not selling anything. I haven't written any books. I just want to resonate with people and try to help them if they're on the borderline of trying to understand some of these things, and give them some information. So I write about my experiences and also my perspectives on, my lens as a contactee, and also my lens as how non-human intelligence, how they look at things too, because they see through my eyes, and a little bit I see through theirs, not to the extent of their level that they do through mine, but it's just kind of a way of letting people kind of get an idea of, the different thinking. And as we all become higher levels of consciousness, people don't understand, it's all these people that channel, all these people that, these psychic, whatever, all these different terms. Basically what it boils down to, as we reach higher levels of frequencies, ascension, whatever, consciousness, the way that I can describe it is that our pineal gland, or our brains, our subconscious, our consciousness, has these little invisible antennas, and there's all these frequencies of information and knowledge all around us. And as we get more in tune, we are literally tapping into universal knowledge, or a collective consciousness of all things in the universe. So we can all do this once we start to get in tune with our inner soul self and work on raising our frequency. The information is there. It's ready for us to tap into. And that's where I draw a lot of my information and things from, is just using the tools that we already have, but that the non-human intelligence, the elders, grays, humanoids, all these other beings have influenced me to do, and to tell other people here on earth to do the same.
Just jotting down some notes for questions so I don't forget them, because
Sure.
people in chat know that I forget a lot here. Actually, we have a couple questions that people have asked. Georgianne asked, do you have a rare blood type?
I do not. I am A positive. I do not believe, I know for a fact, I'll just change it by wordage. Blood type has nothing to do with it. DNA is not part of it. My sons are contactees just like I am. I have a sister that has had some experiences stuff, but she elected not to pursue it to the degree that I am. My sons are young. They will eventually take my role, but right now they're building their own lives. But this is about your soul. This is a soul thing. This is, my soul came from them. Our souls are connected. We all make decisions, even if you're not direct lineage of them. People in your soul agreements or contracts, in which everyone makes different agreements, things they want to experience while they're here on earth. It's a growing experience. It's a spiritual experience. They make agreements to be part of this evolutionary process. Therefore, they have contacts with interdimensionals. They don't remember why, and they don't remember making these agreements. I didn't remember making these agreements until they showed me in a vision, but I persisted and asked them to show me these things, because I pushed through the fear and just started, asking and demanding. When you're ready, the information is there, but you have to get yourself to the point to where they can communicate with you. Most people never get past the fear.
Right. You had mentioned that, not only do they take you to their craft or whatever, that they've always been here.
Yes.
Or that they're here
Yes.
among us. Have they always been here?
Yes.
Since the dawn of time, or are they, and where are they?
Well, here's how they explain it to me. I've asked them point blank, where are you from? And here's what they say. You already know, which, it takes a while for me to figure these things out. I'm a human being. But anyway, they are nonverbal. They are telepathic. They do not use names and labels. We use these because that's how we communicate here on Earth. Right. That doesn't mean all other beings within the universe does the same thing. They do not. They do not have names and labels. They do not go by names and labels. We call them grays. They do not call themselves grays, and they've never called them. I mean, they don't go by names and labels. So I called the group that I saw elders. But to be honest with you, I don't know the difference if I gave them that name or if they suggested that name to me, because at that point I needed a name, or, I needed some reference. I'm not quite sure, but I do know. So I've asked them, where are you from? And they say, you would not be able to understand. And there is no word in your language to give you. And they've always told me, we're not as far away as your race thinks we are. We are all around you. And they have proven that to me. They could be in the room with me right now. They could be in the room with you right now. They have taken clocks and been invisible and turned around 4 o'clock. And I look and I'm like, that's you. And then they'll 4 o'clock. So, and they move things around. So, then the way so dimensions are not physical places. Okay. Dimensions are higher levels of consciousness. So it's so the best way to explain it, if you take an onion, okay, Earth, all right, our dimension 3D is in like the middle onion. And then the bulk of the onion has all these little slivers, veils, slots of hills around it. Those are your dimensions all around us. They can see and interact with us, but we cannot see and interact with them unless they orchestrate it. Yeah.
Very interesting. I never heard it described that way. I like that description of it.
First thing I could think of. I guess.
And of course, my brain went to the movie Shrek, where donkeys and onions have layers. So that's just the way my brain works. One other quick question here from Chad. And again, if you guys have any questions out there, make sure that you put them in all caps so I can see them. Little Patty here asks, Nancy, do you feel that you have another life after this one? And I feel you do.
Oh, absolutely. This is just a blink in the eye of the experiences that we all will, experience, so absolutely.
When this first started happening to you, what did you tell your parents? And did they believe you?
They just grinned and said, go back to bed. They just would brush it off. They may have known more than what they let on, but, and I feel like one of them definitely did, but it was not the era or the time or place to go beyond just, we talked about there has to be life. We talked about, and we looked to the skies, to the stars, looking like, we're here waiting, that kind of thing. We camped and that was a very, very important thing. We were very focused on nature and all those outdoor type things. But as far as I was told point blank not to talk about this at Girl Scouts, not to talk about this at school, not to talk about this to relatives, because people will consider you having a mental health problem, or they will consider it demonic. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Tennessee. So it's the Bible Belt. You cannot discuss things like this in the South. Well, now we can, but in the past, I was born in 1960. So, I would think I was the first class in Tennessee when I started first grade. That was the first integration in Tennessee. So, it was a time period where I couldn't really talk about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, I never had experiences like this, but I remember as a kid, and I still do this now, go outside at night or even sometimes during the day, just kind of look up and, what do you see up there? Am I going to get to see anything today? And, people always say, just, be careful what you wish for. And I guess I should be careful what I wish for. I don't want anything crazy to happen, but it's one of those things that and I know a lot of kids and a lot of dreamers do the same thing, where they just kind of gaze up into the sky and, what's out there is something watching me.
It's because deep down,
Yeah.
we in our subconscious, we know these things. And that's why
Yeah.
we have these earnings or these feelings of not belonging to Earth, is because we know we have star families. We know that we come from the stars. And, even though we think that, let me correct myself there. So we do believe we came from the stars and stuff, and maybe they originally did, but I also know they are all around us.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't, that kind of like, there's a lot I don't know, and I'll be the first to tell you, there's a lot it's a lot to digest at times, but it's amazing. It's amazing all the time. It's just, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Sparky's Paranormal and Outdoors had a great question here. Do you think we keep coming back, I'm assuming, to this realm to learn lessons till we are the very best version of ourselves, or to move on to the other?
Yes. We're here to learn and to ascend, so if you don't get it right, then you come back and you try it again. It's evolve, repeat.
So, I said that, I've never had an experience before. That kind of changed we were doing a ghost hunt in Arcadia, which is just south of St. Louis and stuff. And I had, I don't know if you're familiar with the God's helmet. No. Oh, you're not? So no. What it is, it's a helmet that you put on, and it shoots like electrodes in your brain and kind of, I guess, helps you relax and helps you see things. And I won't go into the entire story, but I was in a room. There's 2 doors on each corner of the room, and they're about 7-foot tall doors with a glass window on top of them. And somebody in chat, or actually was on the show that I was on for this, they were saying that, Paul, there's, like family members in the room, and there's also a gray in the room. And I'm like, okay, I was really kind of just, focusing and just trying to relax and see if I could see it. And sure enough, in the corner, up, I think the head had to have been up by the window. I saw it plain as day. Is the gray head. And that was just so incredible to me. Yeah,
it's probably observing.
Yeah. That's what he was saying. That the guy was telling me that was going to happen.
Yeah. So you're either tapping into his frequency or you're getting real darn close. Yeah. So I'd say you were tapping in. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the God's helmet does. And
that's interesting. I've not heard of that or anything. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool piece of equipment. That we were using that night. So I'm hoping to use that again, but not every instance is going to be the same. So, now you kind of mentioned before that your kids are also contactees.
Yes.
Even going back further, were your parents contactees that you know of?
I'm pretty sure one of them was, and my oldest son, knows for a fact that they were, from his experiences. So, yeah, and I experienced watching. It's my father. I've seen him his reactions and his talks and things. It's pretty evident that he's the one, but he could have done what I do, but he chose not to, because again, he was born in 1937. It just was not the right time period. Yeah. But in a roundabout way, he raised me, and now I'm doing it. So it's, but I don't think it's anything to do with DNA or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, talk about some of the contact experiences that your children have had.
Well, we've been in the same room or area or the same room when they were little in the same house, and we would be taking it or take. I don't like to use the word taking. We would have contact at the same time. Then with my oldest son, about a little over a year ago, he and I were in Mexico, San Jose del Pacifico, and we were in a cabin in the mountains, way up, elevated in the mountains. And the Grays came for him one night and told me, "This is not about you." I roll over. And then they came for me, and they put him in a paralysis, because I could see when they got me up and I was with the female Gray, I could see he was in the bed across the room, and he kept trying to get up. I mean, he could feel their frequency, and he was wanting to react, but they had him blocked. And I didn't understand why they were keeping us separated in our experiences, but I do now, because of the mother-son bond. We lose our mental capacity to stay focused on the experience, and we start to have these like negative anxiety type feelings, like worrying about, is he okay? Is he understanding? Is he okay that they're not letting him up? And then, when I start having these emotional type feelings that they do not care for, because they do not experience these feelings, they black me out.
Were your kids scared when this first happened to them?
They went, well, it's kind of strange. When it first happens, when you're very little, you're not as scared, because the world has not influenced you in any way. As we get older into around teenage or, early adulthood, we do become afraid, because the world, we've seen movies, we've read books, we've seen magazines, we've heard what other people say. And then when that is in our brain, then when they manifest in front of you, all these things start swarming around in your head. And that's when we experience the fear, is because of the outside influences.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a negative contact?
I've had experiences where I felt scared and emotional and anxiety, and they will black you out point blank. They're not going, they come from a higher frequency. In their reality, there is no such thing as depression. There is no such thing as anxiety. There is no fear. Those things don't occur in their reality. So when they are having contact with a human being, rather than giving you a psychology lesson, you have to figure these things out on your own. They simply tap you out or black you out. And that's why people have missing time, experiences, is because their fear was so overwhelming. Whatever we feel emotionally or think, when they are in our dimension, it is amplified like 10-fold, 100-fold, whatever it is. I don't know the exact number, but they feel it even more so, and it is very uncomfortable. They do not like it. So that's why they just black people out, and they just like, oh, I have missing time, that kind of thing. And I've experienced that. So
that's, I like that one too. I mean, that would make sense that, if you're scared, they're gonna, you're not scared anymore, and you're just gonna.
Well, they know. You have to understand. They know. Like for me, for example, or any human being, they know that humanity is going through an evolution where our consciousness is going to increase, and our understanding and awareness will eventually get better. But at the time frame that they're coming to visit you, say 30 years ago, they know what's going to happen in 30 plus years. We don't know, but they're on a time, They're not there to play cards or there to play games or sit down and have tea. They're there for a purpose. They have an agenda, like they're checking on the evolution of humanity. They're checking on the physical well-being of humans, what toxins, et cetera, whatever they're checking. They don't have time to give us a lesson on psychology, basically, because they knew in the future that we would come to a point, if we really want to understand who we are, we would learn to understand these things on our own, which things need to be understood on our own organically.
So, they're here to do a job. They're not messing around. They're coming in and getting the job done. And that's that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You're really big into disclosure, and I hate to even ask this, but do you think sometime in our lifetime do you think we're ever going to see disclosure, and we're going to find out what people know?
Well, when I started Time for Disclosure, I thought that it would take the government telling us all. I don't believe that anymore. I believe all the information we need is inside of each and every one of us. We don't need outside sources for what we already know. There is nothing that they can tell us that our subconscious doesn't already know. So my philosophy of what disclosure is not the government telling us anything. It is human beings are the disclosure. We are the disclosure. We understanding how unique and intelligent we are, and that we have been dumbed down for centuries, eons, to keep us from ever reaching this point. But we are here and we're doing it. It's not going to happen overnight, but we are doing it. We are the disclosure. And at some point, everything we ever wanted to know, all truths will be made known, and we will know it. And we will be doing it through our ascension and through working to reach higher levels of consciousness, because like I said earlier, the knowledge is there. We just got to tap into it.
So Sparky had another question, and Amy had a question too. I'll get to that one in just a second. Would you say they look after us like children, as they are older, wiser, and we are slowly understanding them and what we can do?
Absolutely. We are adolescents to them. Yeah.
Where are you, Amy? I guess I could just hit this button here. Get rid of that. And you kind of touched on this a little bit. Is there love, friendship, and positive emotions for the Greys?
Absolutely. Yes, I love the female Grey and the other Greys that I have met. There's many different races of Greys in all heights, colors, facial features. They are very, very loving. Some of the ones that people think are robotic like, or they're hybrids that they created to do the back and forth work. And the female Grey that comes from me, I'm pretty sure she is a hybrid Grey. And they created her kind to be able to withstand the density of Earth. She can stay here at a longer period of time with less discomfort than what other non-human intelligence are able to do. So, but even though, it's the frequency is how you know these things. It's not what they say verbally or do. It is their frequency that they emit. And to them, I am not Nancy Thames. I am my frequency. My frequency is my signature. That is who I am. Mm-hmm. So that's how they locate me. Any place I am living in the world, they can find me through my frequency. And that's how I understand whether they're male or female, or, that it's just everything is about frequency. All these things are important.
And thank you very much, Sparky, for becoming a member. Appreciate you, Sparky. And appreciate you guys, putting questions out there.
Yeah. Greys can even be comical. It's not as funny as our funny people, but
really,
they can be comical at times too.
Really?
Yeah.
Contact you to tell you any jokes that you can share with us that they tell you, or
Well, I mean, it's not like that. It's just
yeah.
like it's like I don't know. They're telepathic, but so when they're like telepathic with you, you can sense even in their messages there's inflection, and you can tell when it's a little comical, like like they may say open wide, or and then they're just kind of like jump back, like you're really gonna knock them out with your teeth or something. It's hard to explain, really.
Yeah. I get it. Do you believe that Bigfoot is part of their civilization?
Bigfoot is real. I've experienced that in Tennessee on a canoe trip with my father, and my father knew ahead of time before we ever came right up on it in the canoe. He told us point blank, be quiet, take your paddles inside the boat, keep them inside, put your hands down to your side, be very quiet. And as we did, it was kind of like dusk of day. We traveled around, and the current took us right to a Bigfoot that was splashing around, bathing or fishing, whatever, in the river that we were canoeing in. So we could smell a very, very strong smell of like a very, very wet dog, only it was horrendous amount of smell. And my dad immediately, he knew ahead of time what it was and everything. I had no clue. I just knew that it smelled terrible, but I feel that was another indication that my father, he knew, and he wanted us to experience that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. That was on the Elk River below Tennessee Tongue-Bigby Dam. Yeah.
And what happened with that after you saw it? Did it
Well,
see
when we
you, or
came
did
up
it?
on it, then it really got excited and started splashing really big. So although we could make out that it was a big, hairy creature and stuff, but I couldn't tell you the color of eyes. I couldn't tell you whether it was male or female or anything like that, because we startled it big time. It didn't want to interact with us or anything like that. And we, I guess, startled it.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know I didn't know you had that Bigfoot encounter.
Yeah, I've seen a ghost too.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, this is a whole paranormal show. Tell us about the ghost story.
Okay. I was I joined the Department of Defense as a civilian and was a dental assistant for the Army as a civilian. And the first place they sent me was Hawaii, of all places. It was wonderful.
Awesome.
And then after that, they sent me to Fort Benning, Georgia, where there was a lot of Civil War activity there. And I lived in a small town called Fort Mitchell, which was on the other side of the river, because it was cheaper to live there than live in Columbus, Georgia. So anyway, I was sitting out on my back porch, and it was, again, about like, it was more dark though. It was not real late, but all of a sudden I'm sitting there on the back porch with my German Shepherd, and here comes a Confederate soldier marching across the back, and he was grayish luminescent, and he was wearing the little cap with the Confederate hat, and he had his rifle had like a bayonet on it, and he was carrying like this little bucket pail thing, and it was just dangling back and forth, like which you would either carry your lunch or whatever in. And he was just marching along the course of my backyard, and I just sit there. It did not scare me one bit. It did not. And my dog, it did not scare my dog. And we both just sit there, and it never interacted or looked at us. It just kept doing its thing until it got to the end of my property. And then the other people's yard, it went behind their tree. And so then I could see it. So I stood up and walked out, and it was like it disappeared.
Wow. I remember hearing some stories about in Gettysburg where somebody's got a video camera going on the couple cannons, and then sure enough, you see these two soldiers. I don't know if it's Confederate or what, but see these spirits of a soldier come up, and you can hear the cannon blast and everything.
Well, as we ascend and our visual range increases, and we can become more in tune with these other frequencies, we're going to see not just UFOs. You're going to see all of the paranormal, and the paranormal may not be so paranormal in the future. It may be more normal.
More normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's one. Moon at noon. The knowledge is there. Are you speaking of the Akashic?
Well, the Akashic records, I have seen that, but I don't see that like I'm talking about the knowledge and stuff. I mean, you can tap into that, but you cannot tap into other people's Akashic records. That is for you and your personal use. Somebody else can't look at yours, so you can't go in and look at other people's. There's a lot of misinformation on these things. I mean, that is a spiritual universal law that you can't just dabble into other people's stuff. But I have seen certain things, and I had a near death experience a year ago. March the 6th was made of the year, and so I got introduced to a lot of things during that process, and then taught a lot of things afterwards to help me understand all that. So that's something that's happened since I talked to you the last time. I had a near death experience as well.
Wow.
It was strange. Yeah.
Any other, you had mentioned, last time you were on here, wow, that was back in 23. Oh, and by the way, today just happens to be, and I didn't know this until I was looking at my Facebook memories. Today just happens to be the 2-year anniversary of the show. I had no idea, and it just snuck right up on me. So
congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That just hit me when you said last time you were here, and I forgot to mention that earlier. So, and now I forgot what you said you had plenty other experiences or contacts since we last talked back in 23. I can't remember when it was in 23, but what are some of the experiences that you had?
Well, I have so many, but going to Mexico and being around this indigenous people that for whatever reason, they wanted my oldest son and I to go there, and my son kept getting downloads, and then I getting downloads encouraging that I needed to go with him. And, he has his own family, his own home. We live close, but we don't, we do our separate things. So it was very strange. And all of a sudden he just figured out, well, Mom, you need to go with me. And so we ended up going. And when we got there, we were there. They were without power for like 7 days. We were in a cabin up in the mountains. Took us 3 hours to get up this mountain. And it was freezing cold, believe it or not, in Mexico. And it was very cold. And basically, when I had my first experience with them, on just me, they took me out onto the deck of the cabin, and the interdimensionals, or elders, interdimensionals, took their hands out like this, and they said, everything is alive. And when they did that, they were like pointing at the whole forest in front of me. And with that, I could start to see that every living thing on our planet is a living conscious being. The plants are living conscious being, trees, everything is a living conscious being, and they all communicate with each other. And basically, this whole universe and world has been waiting for human beings to reach higher levels of consciousness to be able to understand our connections, not only with each other, but with every living thing on our planet, including all other planets, including the whole universe and all other non-human intelligence. We're all connected. We're all one, and we all belong to the universal creator source, and so I learned so much that, they believe in the creator source. They all have souls, and every living thing on this planet is just as special and perfect, or, to them as we are to them, and so they wish that we would learn our connections and appreciate our planet Earth more and everything on it, because when we were created, everything that we ever needed was placed here to work in conjunction for everything works together as one. In other words, if we get sick, there's a plant to cure it. There's cures for everything. And they taught me that there's no reason why we should be dying at such early ages. There's no reason why we should have diseases or sickness, because there's cures for everything on our planet. So, it's important for the value of our human experience on this planet to wake up to who we are and understand that there's things out there that we've been denied. And, once we reach that intelligence, there's no stopping us. We will become magnificent beings on this planet.
Another quick question here. Riley Ron, Ivy Forrest. Why do aliens care about humanity so much? Do they got any specific reasons?
Well, I could say, why would they not? But I'm trying to think why they would ask that question. Well, for one thing, we are all connected. Whatever happens here on Earth affects the whole universe. So if we make destructive weapons and things, it ripples out into the universe and interferes and, affects the whole ripple of nature, the whole ripple of the universe. So because we are all one and we're all connected, we are just now beginning to understand, or we should be beginning to understand, our connections. So everything that we do affects everything around us. And we're unique and beautiful. And they don't claim to have created us. They claim to have played a role in our creation. They do not claim to be the creators of us. They believe in a creator source. So
they're just here observing us, right?
I'd say that they're more than that. I'd say that they try to influence us by putting frequencies of love and unity and peace. At some point, they'd like for us to be in the same playing field with them. When we reach that level that we understand that they're not gods, they're not angels, they are simply non-human intelligence that are billions of years ahead of us in evolution. There's a lot of ways that we can help each other, and you have to understand, we're in a unique position of being a race of beings that have been on a planet for a very, very short period of time and have come as far as we have. And the fact that if we do make it through this ascension process, which I think we are, and it's happening, and I believe it's going to continue to intensify. I think that's part of what we're seeing all around the world. But you stop and think about it, it's pretty amazing with the short lifespans that humans have and the amount of time that we've been on this planet, how if we get able to turn around from being in a negative 3D dimension and aspire up into like the fourth and fifth dimension and become players within the universe, you can imagine what great admiration other beings throughout the universe, what they must think of us, because that's a pretty hard task to accomplish.
Right. Earlier, and I jot this down, and thank God I did, because that's why I do this. You were talking about the female that helps you, that contacts you. She does the back and forth work.
Yes.
What exactly is the back and forth work?
Well, she comes to my room wherever I am, and she gets me prepared to take the trip with her to wherever we're going. She's the who took me to see the advanced group of non-human intelligence, the elders. She's who takes me to a craft where I was with a group of many different races of interdimensional beings, and they were a group of explorers, and their job was to they were kind of like dimensional keepers, and they were looking for cryptids or Bigfoots or any type of being, whether it be aquatic or land-based or whatever, that had jumped jumped a dimension and was either creating havoc, or humans were getting too close to it and they were in fear for that particular being. So, and they would interact and move these beings different places to prevent them either from harm, from human interaction, because it's not always a good thing when, like, say, some people that go looking for Bigfoot or any type being, whatever it might be, are not always going to be a pleasant. It won't always be a pleasant sighting. They may attack it. They may want to cut it up, dissect it. So they are like dimensional keepers. So she takes me to different places where the things that they want me to see.
Mm-hmm. Little Petty asks, are they trying to help us reach the level that they're at?
Well, we're a long ways from that,
Yeah.
but they're trying to get us on the level to where we can interact. And we have to be at a much higher frequency to be able to shake hands with them. If they came here today with our frequency at the stage that we're at, they would not be able to come out of craft, or they would have to, they just would simply wouldn't be able to. It's too uncomfortable. But they could stay, what they could do is come in their craft and probably stay over great bodies of water. That way they would not scare people as bad, because they wouldn't be directly over a building or over a house. Because, we've seen movies where they show them craft begin over buildings and they do these beams down. So they won't do anything like that, but they could be over great bodies of water in different areas and give human beings the ability to drive to see them, but keep them a distance away, but they would never come out of the craft, because the difference of frequency is too high. It's too different right now.
Okay.
Just like it's uncomfortable for me, like when I'm there and I'm on craft, there's a preparation process to get me there. And then when they bring me back, there is a period of time to where it feels very uncomfortable to me, the coming down part. So just like it would be for us, it's the same for them.
How exactly do they prepare you to go?
They change my frequency.
Okay.
They change it to, and I can feel it within my body. And, that's why people, when their body starts feeling these changes, that's why there's no way to understand what it is, especially at first. So your mind goes from fight or flight, because you don't know, what this is. It's a feeling like you've never, ever had before.
Wow. Head Trip in here said that he would love to have that experience. Here it is. I just say be careful what you wish for, because not every experience has to be great, right?
Well, it depends on the person. If you go look, it's just like if you walk around thinking negative and looking for negative things, negativity will find you.
Right.
And it's not that they're doing that, but that's what you're going to see. That's how the mind works in a human being.
Mm-hmm. And do you have an idea or know why, or do they have an idea or know why us humans are so destructive?
Well, from the minute we're born, we're manipulated and controlled and brainwashed into thinking certain ways. So a lot of it is like having to relearn all over again. I mean, and there's no wrong or right. We cannot help where we're born, who we're born to, or or what religions or what beliefs we're exposed to. So you can't look at it. There's no blame for it. It's just that's what happened in this dimension. But what can change is your beliefs, your thinking, your behaviors, your thoughts,
and how we think about and treat other human beings.
Exactly. So this is our opportunity to change the past. We can turn our lives into a different version, a better version of ourselves, starting fresh.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into a little bit of talk about your website. What all, actually, while you're talking about it, I will share it and bring it up. What all do you have in your website that people can find?
Well, I don't focus so much on the website, especially since the near-death experience. I have just focused more so like on my groups. I have the Time for Disclosure group, but I have many other groups too. And I don't know. I just feel like rather than putting it on my site and just waiting for people to eventually find it, what's not better than just to put it on a social media, the articles and things, just put it right out there. That way it can be shared, or, people either like it or don't, it's just not sitting there. So I'm guilty of not updating it, to be honest with you, because I put so much interest into the groups, to be honest with you, and I like interacting with the people there.
And we were talking about this before the show started, that it's a lot of work doing all these pages and doing all these shows, and it does take a lot of time and a lot of effort to get this stuff out and everything. So here's a link to her Facebook page. It is also in the chat that Pam has been dropping.
Thank you, Pam.
And your writings are in there too. Talk a little bit about your writings. What all you have in there?
Oh goodness, I do them pretty often. I know people think, how in the world, but it just comes to me, and I just feel like everyone is so important. I talk about fear. Why we experience fear. I talk about the things that you can do to work on the fear, being aware of fear, being aware of what you're experiencing, and mentally knowing, and then working to change it. That's the major keys to everything, and it's the same thing with like contact. We have to acknowledge what our mistakes are and then address them, and that's basically what I did, and that's what anybody can do. And so I talk about, gosh, there's so many things. I talk about what the future, like as we ascend, we'll be seeing different colors, different shapes, all kinds of things. Our world is going to change. But the way that they've told me is that it's so subtle and slow, and it has to be done in a divine way so that humans can digest it and not be overwhelmed and get scared. So, and they said by the time we get to the end of it, will seem like our world has always been this way. It just seemed like, well, that color's always been around, even though it's a new color. So it's an amazing process. And, it's for the people that it if it resonates with you, it's for you. If it doesn't, then, maybe it's not part of your soul path, part of what you came here to do. And there's no wrong or right, everybody's here for a different reason, so there is no wrong or right. We're here to do what we set our soul path is to do. And we have to learn to accept that even some of our loved ones may not look at things that we do. Doesn't mean that you don't love them, but there may come a point in time where you find yourself from friends, having to part or walk away. It depends on what your soul direction leads you and stuff.
Just a couple more questions before we get out of here.
Okay.
Greg Ogles, question is a constant state of berating or negative thought detrimental towards your advancement in vibration or ascendancy?
Yes, absolutely. I find being human, we're going to always have negative thoughts, or negative things are going to occur around us. The way I look at it is that is normal, but it's our behavior. We control our behavior. And when I have a negative thought, I replace it with 2 positive thoughts. And it's you practice, being aware of it, and then catching yourself at it, and then working on it until it becomes natural that you just start having positive thoughts. And that is also part of the enhancing on your frequency, because once you get higher frequency, there is no going back. It's kind of like that saying, once you know. Well, it's once you reach higher frequencies, it feels magnificent, and your body responds to that. There's no going backwards. No going backwards. It's forward from then on out.
That's you can take that in so many different levels and everything. And when you were saying that, I just all of a sudden thought that, I tried to do that. I don't like saying the word hate, because that's just so incredibly negative, and I try not to use that in my vocabulary. And whenever I come up with a situation that I'm not comfortable in or I don't like, and I feel that word coming up, try to steer it to a different way. Say something different. Same thing with in customer service. I deal with customers a lot, and instead of telling them no, we can't do something, unfortunately we are unable to do this or something like that. So it's just be able to kind of train your mind to think and act a different way. So
yes,
it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
No, with practice, it does become natural,
Right.
but it doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Lori Gibbs, thank you very much for your donation. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much. One more question here. Shelly Montgomery, has Nancy ever been physically attacked? I'm assuming by the Greys.
No, they don't do things like that. That's why they nod people out. I mean, they're not muscular and as big as we are. The tall Greys are not even thick, but they're not aggressive beings. They're in their reality, there is no such thing as aggression or attacking, or none of those things ever occur. And they're not here to, if a human seems aggressive, I mean, they already know what the mental state of a human being is. They don't have to say or show any body language. They can read your mind. They know. And plus, you emit a frequency of what level you are. So none of that kind of thing would occur.
Yeah. And, I kind of have to say that, a lot of times, like I said before, I like looking up in the stars, go outside at night, look up at the stars, see what's out there. And a lot of times I do often kind of wish I could see something or have an experience like that. And, like I said, the head trip, be careful what you wish for, because, are all these situations going to be good?
Well, you have to understand, even if you're thinking these things, they know deep down what your soul wants. What your soul, they're addressing your soul. They're not addressing the human consciousness, because the human consciousness will change. Mm-hmm. It will change as we ascend, or as we even get older, we get wiser and understand things differently. So they're looking at you on a soul level.
Yeah. Very interesting stuff, Nancy. Again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. This has been
for having me. Yeah.
Very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Your experiences are just, I think, incredible. And
thank you.
Like we said, check out her website, check out her Facebook page, and that also has links to your other social media. And check all that stuff out. We could learn a lot from Nancy and your experiences and stuff.
Well, I understand it doesn't resonate with everyone, but for the people that it does, that's all that's important to me. That's all that's important. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I'm glad we could finally hook up and get this on here. So
yeah.
And thank you guys very much for joining us tonight. Quick thanks to Sinfully for gifting 5 members, and to a new member, Sparky. I appreciate you guys being here. And Lori, thank you very much for your donation. And guys, just thank you all for being here. It's always great seeing you guys, and it's been not everybody's been around for 2 years. The first half year or so was kind of slim, but now I'm getting to know a lot of people here, and I'm loving this. And thank you guys so much for being here. Here's to 2 more years. There it is. So thank you guys. We're gonna head out here. Appreciate you watching. Nancy, hang on a second.
Okay.
We will talk to you guys later. BMR's on later tonight. No Donny Cho. He has got family in town, so he's not having his show tonight. But BMR, check BMR out late night tonight, 10 o'clock Central, I believe his new time is. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you later on this week.
This is the future. Evolution. This is is the future.